Now, uh, you'll understand India is in a difficult situation in its neighborhood at this point of time, right? With what's the condition in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan and China. Whereas we have done some recovery in Maldives and Sri Lanka. Besides this, there's a larger region, and this extended region goes up to West Asia, goes to Southeast Asia, and into the Indian Ocean region, and even to the uh, you know western coast of, or rather, the eastern coast of Africa. Where does India find itself in this paradigm? Is what we're going to talk today with General Dushyant Singh. General Dushyant Singh, sorry for the snafu at the outset. Uh, Welcome to Gunner Shot once again. Happy New Year to you and your entire family. Please take on.
Happy New Year to you also, sir, and the audience of Gunner Shot, and who else is watching this particular program, and who will be watching the program in future as well once it is there on the net. Today, as you said, we are going to discuss an issue which is very, very difficult issue to predict. Basically, here we are doing some kind of a soothsaying. How much of forecasting we can do is anybody's guess. Man proposes, God disposes. That is the general rule which we have seen. But going by the trends which are actually happening at the global level, definitely will have an impact at the regional level as well. So that is something which will straight away affect. So the first thing, which in my opinion is going to be a major impact on the region, would be the power politics of major powers, which means that US, China, Russia. And you're already seeing it manifesting in some form or the other, either in the security domain or in the economic domain or in the international relations domain. So, in every domain, you are finding that there is an impact of major powers. And in this major power, the biggest unpredictable factor, although people say that he's not really that unpredictable, is the Trump presidency. Now, how will the Trump presidency impact both globally and regionally is also an area which required a little more, I would say, working with a flexibility, as I would like to say that we need to be flexible and agile to the changes that might occur based on whatever happens in the future. Although some indications of that are being seen, but we'll only come to know once the full formation of the Trump government is in place, or Trump administration is in place. So that is one big factor which will dictate the regional trajectory. Now, coming specifically to the regional trajectory, I will restrict my discussions to, let's say, from the Middle East to the Far East. That would be the not Far East, or I would say up to Philippines, because we will exclude the Pacific Island, etc. That goes further deeper into the US influence, and the US China dynamics becomes more important there. So, going by that, as you have already said, the neighborhood seems to be in turmoil and in difficult situation for India is concerned. Now, starting from the west, if you look at it, the Middle East today is in a state of flux. With the countries that are stable are only the ones which are around Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, the seven Emirates which are there, with Kuwait also being part of it. So that area is relatively stable, but rest of it, right from Iran to Houthis to Syria to Lebanon to Israel, I think there is a whole lot of changes which we are likely to see in the future. One of the most disturbing features which I find, and this is possibly, I have been telling this since the last at least 10 to 15 years, that 1979 was the benchmark in the change in terrorism related, religious terrorism. 1979 was the first indicator of terror or violence backed groups changing hands as far as power is concerned. And then we saw Afghanistan doing the same. in Taliban 1, then they did it in Taliban 2. Then now we are seeing the same thing happening in Hamas. We saw Hamas doing it much before, although it was supposedly as part of an election that they won the Hamas area. But the background was that they were actually agitating violently. So therefore, Hamas was another example. Then you had Hezbollah virtually taking over governance, being at least 50% stakeholder in Lebanon is concerned. Syria, finally, it has happened that you have the HTS which has taken over power. What is this trend? Now, this trend somehow, in my opinion, is also giving hope to people around South Asia. That is, the TTP in Pakistan is now, because of the Afghan Taliban success and the successes which are taking place of violence related takeover of state authority, whether the state authority is a dictatorial authority or it is a democratic authority, it is immaterial. Then you have Myanmar. If you come to the east, you have Myanmar. In Myanmar, also, you'll find 67% of the territory is virtually now being taken over by rebel groups. Now, whether the cause of rebel group is justified, I'm not going into that. I'm just going into the phenomena that terrorism or violence is now becoming a preferred method to change states regime. And then you found Bangladesh, the same thing happening. But what is most disturbing is that once these changes are taking place, the outcome of the changes are not the way people had predicted. You take Bangladesh; it was supposed to have transitioned into a elected government soon after the Sheikh Hasina government was she relinquished power, or she was forced to flee from Bangladesh. That has not happened. Yunus is still asking for more time, and now, of course, he has given some timeline of August or September. Whether that will materialize or not, that's a different issue. He's become a nominal head with the control now with Jamaat very clearly, and Jamaat is was a terror group. Similar is the case in Myanmar, which I've already spoken about. If you look at Pakistan, half of Pakistan is now virtually controlled by terror groups. Whether that terror groups are in favor of A, B, C, D, I'm not going by that account. I'm going by the fact that its impact on India can become very dangerous. Where people who are anti-national, people who are looking at short-term gains, as a combining of hand, whether it is a political cooperation or whatever way you want to look at it, it is giving that hope to people that if a NA or the NRC or the CA kind of a thing starts happening in India, they will also start getting this kind of a motivation that yes, it is feasible to change governments or change hands as far as state power is concerned. So therefore, this is the first trajectory which I feel we must be guarded against, and India must ensure that its internal social is is always taken care of. And here I am referring to places like Manipur, places like the protests which are taking place around the heartland, where you're seeing Sambal, you're seeing farmers protest. So all these have a potential. Dalit protests, etc. They all have a potential to become big. And with the deep state of the world now, they have created this ecosystem of NGOs and other organizations, front organizations, democracy organizations, or fighting for democracy organizations, or rating organizations. They will rate a particular country on democratic thing, at a rating, whether it will give an image, where it will give an image to the people that look, this country has no democratic values. You must have seen what India was rated last year. That was quite a surprise. So these are all, in my view, deep state actions combined with these uh, current trends which are taking place of violence being the primary driving factor to change governments, is something of a trajectory which India needs to be guarded against. We have
So
the
what you're
potential.
saying is, so
Yeah.
what you're saying in essence is the trajectory, the new trajectory, which has probably come to force in the past about 4 5 years.
Yes.
You though you
Yeah.
given a thing, but prominently in the
That
past
was
4 5 years.
that was the start point, but it has
Yeah,
gained
but
momentum in the
yeah,
last
it
five
has
years.
gained momentum in the past 4 5 years,
Yeah.
where violence has been used extensively and outcomes have not been clear. In fact, they've gone hazy, and the
Yes,
situation has gone worse.
absolutely.
And if I may add, you know, all around India, Middle
It's
East,
happening.
it's happening,
It's happening.
right?
So
And
that,
the question the question in front of us is how long can we avoid it, or how can we avoid it?
yeah, that we will go subsequently. I was thinking, let
Yeah,
me just
we'll do
first
that.
see. So
Yeah,
so
yeah, I see a point.
first concern is very clearly, I think, what I thought over it, and this is something which we need to be guarded against. The second
Yeah,
is trajectory of China Pak collusion will continue. That is a given trend, and there we need to be militarily prepared for, like you have been saying in the past, that it is not going to be a kind of an action which is cut section. It will be a holistic approach to squeeze India as far as its economic growth is concerned and as far as its security problems are concerned. So on both fronts, I feel that India will be squeezed, especially taking the advantage of the disputes which we have with China, and Pakistan will play ball as far as this particular trend is concerned. This is no brainer. I think we should remain conscious of this fact and unduly carried away by not get unduly carried away by the, the recent thaw which has taken place, or the 6 point agreement which has taken place between Ajit Doval and the NSA and the Wang Yi, foreign minister of China. Those are, I think, buying time techniques of China to overcome its own economic uh, problems which it is facing since the last 2 3 years or 4 years. Since, in fact, COVID, it has been facing headwinds as far as its economy is concerned. So it is also looking at a very short term period of trying to tide over the problems economically. The third trend which I feel is the major power politics. Now you find that Afghan Pakistan thing is growing up in a big way as far as Durand line confrontation is concerned. There was a killing of one of the ministers of Afghanistan by uh, ISISK suicide bomber, and he happened to be this fellow's Haqqani's uncle, the fellow who was killed, and he was also the minister for refugees and immigration, etc. So therefore, it was viewed by Afghanistan as some kind of a action taken by Pakistan. Then Pakistan attacked TTP, and then Afghanistan Taliban attacked in a major way, actually causing huge damage to Pakistan. In my view, this confrontation will automatically suck in the three players, and you're already finding Russia intervening very very quickly in this particular confrontation. And the reason being, they don't want the US to now come here and start supporting the Pakistanis and saying that, okay, we will support your war on Taliban, and then establish a base. There is already a talk going on that the ambassador of Pakistan, as an ambassador of US in Pakistan, I'm forgetting his name, Bloke or somebody, he came and visited Gwadar, and there was a talk going on that probably Gwadar might be taken over by the US. Anything is possible. The deep state department of US also works quite efficiently. So there is likelihood of a tribe party play going on in Afghan Pakistan again from outside. Maybe not the boots on ground, but through these actions to support outside, and look at a possibly a mini confrontation between Afghanistan Taliban and Pakistan. And so therefore this will directly impact India. India has been trying to bridge the gap of going to the Central Asian republics via Afghanistan. So it had some stakes in Iran, that Chabahar port, and then Afghanistan. In fact, the Afghanistan foreign minister gave a statement a few days back, where it said that it appreciates India's action of linking, giving an outlet to Afghanistan to the seas via Chabahar. So this game of India might get affected. I won't say game, but this move of India trying to reach out to the Central Asian republics may get affected by this particular trend, which is slowly emerging. And Afghanistan, Taliban, TTP, Pakistan, BLA. These are the four actors who will become prominent in this. Russia would also be a big loser, because then Russia, there'll be somebody in the doorsteps of Russia as far as the Eastern Front is concerned. Then the next trajectory which I find is economic trajectory. Now, two things of concern to me. Firstly, is our GDP in the last quarter has gone down. Now, people have said that it is a momentary blip, and once the agriculture etc. takes form, then this GDP will rise up. But it is the lowest in the last, I think, 10 years or so in this particular quarter. So we need to be concerned about it. But more importantly, the RBI's report, where it said that the corporate is not sharing the profits which it is making with the people who are serving them. Now that directly affects consumer market, and if your consumer market is going to go down, definitely your GDP is going to slide down. It may
Go
not be a
down. Yeah.
major, it will not be a major impact, but it has been stagnant for the last 10 odd years, 10 or 15 years, which is a huge. In fact, if I look at my own relatives who are working in the corporate sector, their pay has remained stagnant. We are all getting sixth pay commission. It has been stagnant since the sixth pay commission, which, in my opinion, earlier we used to talk that the corporate is giving more and all that, but they have stopped at that. So our economy may also have a little bit of a slow down if we do not do the corrective actions, especially in terms of these. And also, the economy is going to get affected by the energy crisis. Now, what has happened is the Russian gas is now coming under a pressure, because Ukrainians have cut out the pipeline, and so therefore there is a Russian crisis brewing up. Although Putin has said so be it, it doesn't make much of a difference to him, but I think it will make a difference to him, because we cannot take gas from Russia. It needs a much more. It becomes more costly for us. So, if Russia is under pressure, then how do we progress our defense deals and the other? As such, our defense deals are getting affected with Russia. So we will keep getting pushed to the western side. So our strategic autonomy might get affected with this. So our economy may have an impact on our defense as well as on our overall economic growth. So we need to be careful of that as well. The next issue is about militarization of the region. Now, I see with Bangladesh, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Taliban, all in some sort of a turmoil, and I believe now this is a rumor only. So I'm just putting that word of caution that it's a rumor, that Washington Post a few days back took out an article where it is saying that India is trying to change Muzu in Maldives. Why is this? Why has this article been planted in a Western media, and that to Washington Post? It is to create this again upheaval. I mean, Maldives are being sorted out by India as far as the relations with India and Maldives were concerned after the elections, where there was a change of government. It was supposedly a pro-China government. We are also quickly trying to heal that relationship. Moment we were able to achieve some kind of a normalization with Maldives, Pat comes an article
Washington Post. Yeah.
And that to Washington Post, and you have our own internal people inside our country who will pick up these kind of reports, and you know and I believe now this is the latest I'm getting. I don't know whether it is true or not. I am not saying it is true, and I find it is ridiculous, but some guys are really doing mischief with India, of saying that India is probably going to merge Bhutan with it. Now,
Yeah.
this is something. If we start having such narratives in an artificial intelligence era, I don't know how we are going to defend ourselves. This trajectory which I was talking about, working through fakes, is going to be the next one. Militarization would be the fourth one, and working through a disinformation environment at the global, regional, and the operational level, even in the military, etc., is going to be the next big challenge. Lastly, before that, another trend which we will see now because of the disturbance in our region would be the immigration threat. Now, with so much of turmoil around our borders, including Nepal, where you will find the people in the Tarai getting, backlash coming onto them, and Tarai people are more closer to India than to Nepal, then Bangladesh. You have a similar situation where it is not closeness, but it is the need for employment and need for sustenance and survivability that might force people to immigrate to India, and therefore India might find itself under pressure. As such, it is already uh, facing pressure of Rohingyas and other people who have settled here, and they're multiplying in numbers. So, immigration would be another big trajectory challenge as far as India is concerned within the region. The one good spark which I see in all this articulation which I have done is Sri Lanka, and I hope I am not saying it too early. That Sri Lankan president who has taken over has dissociated himself from his past policies of his party of being more like a communist kind of a orientation to more into a real world politics of having good relations with its neighbors and uh, trying to ensure that it is able to survive the economic setbacks which it's getting. It needs the IMF loan to for a bailout, which it has already got, and for that it needs India's support. So Disanayake possibly is doing the real politic in terms of maintaining good relations with India. He visited India first before China, so that was one good message again he gave. How far this is going to continue is something which we need to be careful of. He's also given assurance that he will not allow the security concerns of India to be compromised by the third party, etc. As far as that is one bright spark of trajectory which I find, which we need to build on. We should not lose it. That is something important. And the last bit, which will be possibly the concern not only of India but everyone else in the region and also at the global level, is the advent of cyber and information. These are going to be big players as far as uh, affecting day to day health of the entire country, well being of a country. We are finding different ways and means by which people are attacking. Incidentally, I just finished an article in which I went through the data, and now what we have got figures is that India is the most cyber attacked country in the world. We had 5 billion attacks in 2023. 5 billion attacks. It's no jokes. I think if you are not up and about, and it is not about government, if you are a corporate entity, please ensure your cyber security. If you are an Airtel provider or a service provider for a telecommunication, ransom days will not overcome the problem now. Just by giving some ransom, you are able to get back the data of people who are part of your customer base. I think those days are passe now. Now people will be attacking your databases, taking it out and selling it and making it big in cryptocurrency market. As such, you would have seen the cryptocurrency market has gone to 1 lakh some dollars, which after Trump took over and he announced cryptocurrency as the next gen currency of the world. So we will find that advent of cryptocurrency, cyber, and information, these three will combine together, probably affecting our economy, affecting our governance systems, affecting our defense, affecting our military. Now, in my opinion, these are the major trajectories which are going to take place around us, in and around us. There are many, but this I felt would be at the center of 2025 and beyond.
Yeah. I want to ask, or suggest another trajectory to you. Look,
Yeah.
we are so far been speaking of a two-front situation and
Mm.
China-Pak collusion, which is a
Yes.
trajectory which you have identified. I'm
Yeah.
okay with it. But the fact is that will Bangladesh become part of this? Given
I was
the
about to tell you that that Bangladesh, Myanmar, China,
I would I'll put it
Nepal, Nepal, China, Myanmar, Bangladesh.
and
All
why not
these,
Pakistan also?
Pakistan is there in the, that is already there given. I'm saying
No,
this new
no,
alignment with Bhutan being also pressurized to either remain neutral. It is a crescent which is engulfing us. That could be a possibility. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, because I read an article a few days back in a Chinese uh, portal, and
Okay.
that article says, look, um, we are giving all help to Bangladesh. The Bangladesh army is equipped largely, I think about 80 to 90% is Chinese equipment, right?
That's right.
And they're also giving them, I think, there's a talk on for the J-10 fighters and all that. And now India has to again face the East Pakistan, West Pakistan kind of situation with
Yeah.
China being strong. And the
Yes.
trajectory which I see is though China has withdrawn and it will not be directly involved with you, it will now act through Bangladesh and Myanmar and Pakistan. And so I feel that this new three-front scenario is likely
Absolutely.
to bear down on
It is
us.
it is in fact multiple front scenario, with two of our areas critically being squeezed. One is a threat to Siliguri corridor, which will become more and more pronounced because of the Bangladesh collusion if it starts off. In fact, in my slide, had it been shown, I had written Pakization of Bangladesh.
Oh
There
yeah,
was a
I'll show the
point on,
slide. We'll
yeah.
we'll just quickly go over the slide
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
yeah. There's hardly anything. Just one slide. That's all. Uh,
No, I'll just
ne-
quickly run over it.
Next,
So what?
yeah. So here I had made this point about Bangladesh, Pakistan, Myanmar instability, Nepal. So this was the point which squeezing Bhutan. So this was the point which I had, which you had mentioned just now, that this is
Yeah,
a new, this is a new trend which is going to emerge, and possibly we need to be very careful of this. It is going to become a survivability issue as far as India's current geographical shape is concerned, if we do not take some actions. Now, what actions we can take, that could be our next stage of the discussion today, sir.
yeah. The next point I want to make is this. There's narratives which is coming out, especially from Washington Post, and
Yeah, yeah.
this narrative about India will take over Bhutan and all these
Bhutan.
narratives.
Yeah,
From wherever this narrative has come, because yesterday also I was asked by someone, look,
correct.
we heard that India is going to, annex Bhutan, or rather, Bhutan is going to become the next state of India. I said, look,
55.
all that can't happen. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Canada.
Canada. Okay. Now, the point is that there's a very clear, despite the strategic partnership and all that, there's a very clear, you know, clear antipathy from the West towards India,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
There's a antipathy from the West. And then China is not keeping quiet. China has, China is now building the dam, and they've made two provinces across the LAC. They've
LAC.
converted Exaichen into a province of Xinjiang. So
Xinjiang.
they're doing something. So we have to face a macro two-front situation. Those who are our friends are no more can no more be trusted. Those
Yes.
who are not our friends anyway cannot be trusted.
Yes.
I
So,
want your views on this.
that is why I said that the situation which we have painted, and with the additional points which you have given, the challenge is not small. Challenge is not small, and India cannot rely on external support, because there is no external support. Technically speaking, there is no external support. Wherever we have gone, we have adopted a kind of an independent view on each situation based on that particular situation's merit. whether it is Russia-Ukraine war, whether it is Israel-Hamas war, whether it is Lebanon issue, whether it is Syria issue, any UN-related, even in WTO, sorry, even in the COP conferences, we have adopted an independent stand where we have not agreed to the world deadlines of achieving a certain level of zero emissions by a particular time frame. So we have been actually uh, not having friends as far as the bigger powers are concerned. Yes, we do have friends in the global south, a large number of them, but can they really impact the policy making? I have my doubts. So what do we need to do? In my view, if you look at the diplomatic level, I think we'll have to eat a little bit of our own pride and ego and go in for temporary alliances so that we buy time, whether it is BRICS or whether it is SCO, whether it is G20, whether it is G7. I think everywhere we must have our little bit of finger or our claws into these organizations and retain certain ability to equip ourselves well. That should be our first thing. The second thing which I feel to overcome this kind of a situation is that as far as our neighbors are concerned, they must be closely watched now. We cannot take them for granted. So therefore, all our eyes, ears, ISR, everything, whatever is there, we need to be actually feeling the pulse of what is happening in these areas. Because if we are not updated, when something will grow up along our very critical areas is something which we need to be careful of. I mean, you can imagine the Arakan army suddenly walks into Bangladesh, and so there was the article which I read a few days back where they're saying that they might do the same thing as far as Mizoram and other areas are concerned. As such, you will find that the Mizoram chief minister gave a call for having an independent state. And if you keen with the creation of a I don't know how far it is true, but it is a conspiracy. But let's assume that even if it is a conspiracy theory, why is it being talked about creating a Christian state after carving out Bangladesh, India, and Myanmar? And Mizoram chief minister gives out this kind of a statement. So these are the tendencies. If we are not quick enough, I think we'll have to control them and nip them at the bud, in the bud, right in the beginning. To that extent, I think sending General VK Singh as governor of Mizoram may have been a good step toward that direction. So
Yeah, I
similarly,
agree.
yeah, similarly in Manipur, you find a home secretary, ex-home secretary, going as the governor. I think there are some movements which are taking place by their actions which are taking place by our people that we who can actually influence. The third thing which I feel to control this situation is, why should everything be blamed on center? I
What
think
about
it
the
is
state?
it is states also need to take responsibility and say, okay, I mean, take the example of Assam for that. I mean, for example, I think they are being proactive in their own ways to ensure that there is certain amount of check and balance on the border where national security is concerned. Similarly, I think all border states, Roman Empire fell because they lost control of peripheries. So, if we have to really ensure our national security, our peripheral states have to start looking outward also, and not only look inward for a short-term gain of gaining power, etc. Right? This culture of national security has to build in into the common public also. You talk to people. I'll give you. I don't want to quote any general state or something. But I can quote my own family. Like my family is married all over. I've got a daughter-in-law who's a Gujarati, somebody who's a Punjabi, someone who's a Bengali. Everybody, when you ask them about national security, they say क्या है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, what is about national security, हमारे को तो अपना काम करना है, हमारे को पैसा मिलना है, वो जरूरी है. That culture of national security is not there across the board. It is still considered as a preserve of few. That is why you find programs like what we are doing today. You know, it doesn't have a major traction, but if you throw in some amount of masala, throw in some amount of thing which cheers up people, they will start looking at it in a big way, and they will also be interested in it. But it is not about masala. It is not about taking things lightly. National security is a serious business. Every public of ours, and including every government, has to be responsible for it. And more we talk about it, possibly some sense will prevail on the people who are running these state governments, whether they are in the hinterland or whether they are on the periphery. The the next issue which I feel we need to do as far as this is concerned, see, lopsided growth is always going to give you a problem. So we need to, along with the economic growth, strengthen our defense preparedness. If others are going to be militarized, it is foolhardy for India to ignore it. We should not land up in a situation of 1962 where we kept, delaying things. We did not equip our forces well. If we do not equip our forces, if there is a, I mean, we should not go by the fact that there are not going to be a war. Suppose if there is a war, and you can't predict, you can't be so sure, 100% sure that diplomacy will prevent war. If it was so,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have had so many wars which are taking place all over around us. There are 110 conflicts going on, major and minor, and 32 major conflicts, 56 conflicts which are there, which are bordering on major and medium conflicts. And these are not, I'm not talking out of my hat, these are data which is available on the net. You can Google it, and you will find these things with maps showing where these conflicts are taking place. Now, if you plot them on the map, it will look like a mini world war which is going on. So, to say that India will be able to save or ward off, सब कुछ हमारे चारों तरफ हो रहा है लेकिन हमको कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, वी शुड नॉट बिकम दैट शुतुरमुर्ग. हिंदी में एक कहावत है, शुतुरमुर्ग, जब उसको खतरा होता है तो ऐसे करके अपना सर पे हाथ होत रख के छुप के बैठ जाता है. इफ वी डू दैट, देन somebody will come and cut our neck. I think militarization means defense preparedness of ours has to be put on the fast road. It can't now be kept as, you know, and if we are not able to spend our budget, have systems to ensure that we are able to spend the money. Why aren't we going in for national champions case? Why are we still insisting on L1 in defense? Why are we going in for open tender for aircrafts? Why can't we go in for a government to government tender? Why are we so scared that, people will blame you for corruption? If you are honest, nobody will blame you for corruption. So I think we need to be very conscious of the fact that we need to change our ways of procurement. We need to change our ways of equipping our forge. It has to be a mix of import and mix of indigenization. Both have to go hand in hand. Privatization has to take place. Defense industry, despite, I mean, we can't be happy with the fact that we have had a 16% growth. Have we analyzed what are those 16% elements which we have exported? Bulk of it is ammunition. K9 Vajras, अर्मेनिया को पिनाका दे दिया. Where is the technologically high tech systems which we are exporting? Nil. I think that should become our number one focus with economy. Rest of it we could tamper it down a little bit, suffer a little bit, but let's keep our sovereignty intact and do not allow any, the deterrence must remain in place, and it should not be dissuasive deterrence. I believe we are still looking at a dissuasive nature of fighting war. No, we are looking at a dissuasive nature of fighting war because our armed forces are not equipped for that. Anything more than that, we are saying that okay, we have reoriented to the primary enemy, focus is on China. But what have we done? Somewhere we are weakened. Is it a two is it an increase, a double increase, or it is a 1.5 time increase of our capability? In my view, still remains 1.5 times increase of our capabilities. So this is the next factor which I feel we need to take on. And the last thing, sir, everything will fall in place The last thing is internal social cohesion. If we are strong internally, sir, nobody can touch us. Nobody can touch us. And for that, we need not go outside. Even if people are coming from outside with their disinformation campaign, with their cyber attacks, with their artificial intelligence, fake videos, etc., we need to create positive narratives within our country. People have to be on one page as far as social cohesion is concerned, and not look at short term gains. Even a census is being politicized nowadays. I mean, this is nonsense. Why are we politicizing, giving fodder to the people abroad? We are giving fodder to the people abroad. Census कर लो भाई. अभी तक तो हो रहा था ना census. अभी तक everybody was being given their dues based on their whatever reservations etc. was being done. Why are you creating, layers after layers of differences between our people? I think, sir, these were big things which I thought we must focus on if we have to get out of this situation which we are talking about at the regional level and at with the
Yeah, I think the very important points which you brought out. And I think the center state relations, the focus or the awareness of national security. And national
correct.
security is not just the center's baby, but also the baby of the
Correct.
state.
Yes, sir.
And then the lopsided growth which we are going through. And especially what I would say is for some funny reason, we have got, we have retarded the growth in defense.
That's right.
You know, people have to understand this. For a economy which is growing at 8%, even if you keep the GDP at the same rate, the overall, if you, I would say, if you leave the defense expenditure as a percentage of the GDP at the same rate, logically the, defense expenditure increases or the allocation increases. But I think we need more than that. That's what General Dushyant also is getting. We need more. When your adversary has at least said that he's got a 6 gen aircraft, you should have at least 4 to 4.5 gen on ground in adequate numbers. Fifth
In
ko to
numbers,
chodo.
in
Numbers.
numbers,
Our hollowness starts showing up in numbers, right?
yeah,
We need to have adequate, navy. You need to have adequate, rockets, missiles, rifles, basic rifles, and things like that,
yeah.
in which we are woefully short of what is required for a nation to be a power. I keep saying this. India has enough wherewithal to defend its territorial integrity. But does it have the capability to become a power? It doesn't have. That's the thing. So that growth, and plus, if you invest in defense, anyway, your GDP will increase. So for some funny reason, our political system doesn't seem to be realizing this. And then there's a limit to which you can tax or rather burden the military for issues which are the preserve of the central military forces or the central paramilitary forces or the central armed personnel, whichever, what do you call it, CAPFs. So I think there's also this problem which we're having. And the
Yeah,
last thing which you said is internal social cohesion.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
that is, I think, the fundamental from where we can start looking at, stemming these trajectories, upward rising trajectories. If we don't have internal cohesion, politically and socially, we're going to have major problems.
Absolutely.
This is what I had to say. Is there anything else you want to say, or should we take some questions there?
I think we should take some questions or basic problems we have already highlighted.
Yeah,
Solutions
we'll
also we have
highlight it.
given. Solutions also we have given. We can take on some questions.
Yeah, we'll take on. Okay.
Yes,
So the
I
first
just want to
question is,
I just want to inform sir information. Akash Thadani had requested for membership of clause. He can take the
oh,
membership. I've got the sanction now, so he'll have
okay,
to.
great. That's great.
He'll have to give an email to the director at director.cloth at gmail.com, and the rest
Yeah.
will be people will approach him.
Yeah. And similarly, for this is an open offer anyone in India,
Yeah,
a responsible citizen who wants to join clause as a member,
yeah,
a think tank is welcome. We've already given it to Akash Tadani, so we can make it happen for others. You have to go through a process. There has to be a
Ab-
certain amount of verification also done
all
because
that
you're
will be
entering,
done. Yeah,
and we'll do it. And General Dushyant, once he has said he will do it, I have 100% faith, and more than 100, I have 1,000% faith it will be done. So, like you said, he's already given. This is a pilot project. Akash is a pilot project. Anyone else who wants to join in, do join in. In the same vein, before I take on questions, I'd like to request everyone, please join Gunner Shot as members and join us as subscribers, both as subscribers first and then as members. And those of you who do join me as members are doing a good job. I keep repeating this. Are doing a noble job of educating girls. Right. And of course, if you like this video, notwithstanding the snafu in the first part where we had to, I don't know why it happened. Honestly, I started the
but it's
video and it immediately
Murphy,
ended, so I had to recreate this. Murphy's
Murphy's
law.
law, sir. Yes,
Murphy's
sir.
law. Right. Anyway, so we'll now take a few